Hello and welcome to HEROGEEK Presents. And today I'm going to be reviewing all 3 volumes of Kamen America with a very special guest, Animaine, who's also a huge fan of the comic. So I figured, you know what, the only proper way to do this review is to bring him on, because we've spoken about our love for Kamen America for a long time. We're both total Kamen America stans, isn't that right?
Oh yeah, full blown stan here. I'm definitely team Carly, but slightly more team Misha. But I'm also still team Carly because Carly is like me, and then Misha is like my overly spicy waifu, and then Kimiko is in the background just being a damn delight, and I love her too, and everything about this book kicks ass.
Yeah, I was recommended back when Volume 2 was making the rounds. Oh my gosh, I just ate it up. Carly is a genuine, sincere character. I fell in love with her.
I'm pretty sure it's impossible at this point to not love Carly. Like you hit the nail on the head though. She's such a genuine character. She came to me as a breath of fresh air. Mm-hmm. I discovered the book from the Just Some Guy review that he did for Volume 1. By like a stroke of luck, I heard it the last night of the campaign. There's so much awesome about this character in this book. She's not only an awesome superhero, but she's just a great character. I honestly wouldn't mind just watching like a almost slice of life chapter of just Carly and them.
Yeah, totally. I enjoy her regular stuff as much as I enjoy her, when she's Kamen America. One of the aspects I loved about the character was she has this, what I like to call endearing ditziness to her. One of my favorite moments in Volume 1 was when she's at the USO show, and then she's being transported to another show, and then the meteor storm happens or whatever, and then the guy driving the Humvee kind of tells her, "You'll be fine, just stay in the car," and she just does it. She's just like, okay, and she just sits down, like, in this cute little way, like, I guess I'll stay here. And then the meteor hits. It's
funny that you bring that moment up, because whenever I read that moment, I think of the scene from the first Iron Man, where essentially this similar scenario happens to Tony Stark, although it's much more like arg. Bullets fire and everything, but they're like, they pretty much abandon him in the truck and like, no, stay in the truck for your safety, and he and that leads to him being in even more danger. But with Carly, I definitely understand it's much more of a almost trustful endearingness, like almost to a fault. I think my moment like that for the first issue was during her first fight with Misha, before we knew her as Kamen. She was still Meteor Misha, and there's like a slight lull in the action, and Misha decks her one good time.
Oh,
and she's just laying there holding her cheek.
No
punching. This isn't the game, you cow. And I'm just like, why would you say that in the middle of battle, you absolute pure cinnamon bun? I can't help but love it. She just makes you see that she's such a genuine, sincere person that she wouldn't even conceive of something like that happening. Be like, ow, no punching in the middle of a fight.
Yeah,
or just sitting earnestly in a vehicle during a meteor show.
Exactly, and these are the moments that really made the character for me in the first volume. And I love the dry, deadpan sense of humor of the Doctor in Area 51. That's just great.
Yeah, that dude is the truth, man. When she woke up, he was like, how far in the future did he say she was?
500 years. 500 years. Yeah, and she just believes him.
She just really doesn't conceive readily of like deception or underhandedness or even just joke stuff, like
just lying. Sarcasm.
Like sarcasm. It's everything she believes. She's such an earnest person. She takes everything earnestly.
And I love the whole glass ceiling kind of commentary that the comic does. At the beginning, she's playing baseball as a little girl, and she doesn't want to, but everybody around her teacher, tell her, oh, well, you need to, because, you need to be, a modern woman or whatever. And she's just like, I don't want to. I want to be a fashion designer. That's what I want to do. That's my passion. And I love how the book, does a commentary on, on modern feminism.
It's sort of one of those, I guess you could call sort of a fortuitous disasters that the state of entertainment and comics in general is what it is now. Because coming out in 2020, Kamen America could not have had a better time to debut and to have this commentary, because we do see so much of that. And it's so weird because even though you and I aren't in the same generation, I know we're close enough in age to where we both grew up in a time where kids were being more encouraged to be more themselves genuinely. If you were a boy who was a bit softer or a girl who was more of a tomboy, times were changing from like our parents' times where that was like just a total no-go. Things were becoming more acceptable for people just to be their most authentic selves. And the way things are now, you almost have a resurgence of trying to force kids and people in general into these boxes, but for different reasons. So back in the day, it was if you were a girl, you had to be super girly and bake and love frilly stuff or else you weren't valid. And now, if you're a girl, you're more likely to be encouraged to go into STEM fields or play contact sports and be rough, or you're not valid. So for a little girl like Carly, who does like to bake and wants to grow up to be a fashionista, that's you ain't supposed to like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this environment favors people more like Vicky, who was already wanting to go into the field of science, versus Carly, who wanted to do quote unquote girl shit.
Yeah, with a character like Vicky, I mean, even she commented on, Miss Wormy, right? She's like, that's why Miss Wormy never picked on you. And Vicky's like, that's because I wanted to be a geologist. She was all about the science, told me to grow up, get the degree, and break that glass ceiling like it was still 1955,
That line there is two great things. First of all, it's a nice little hint of foreshadowing, which we'll get into later if you want to do more spoilerific stuff with the geologist line. But then it's also the fact that she actually said the science. Like, I'm pretty sure that was the panel that made me know I have to get this book. She actually called it the science with the quotation marks and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's great stuff. I love how her hair becomes blonde when she transforms. That is just so Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah, she totally goes Super Saiyan. Like to quote Danny when we were talking about the book, she literally just becomes a blonde bombshell. And that's exactly what happens. It is so good, and that honestly leads into like another factor that I really love about this book. It's probably my favorite recent example of a fusion between Eastern influence and Western influence.
Yeah, and this is important because and this is important because I'm the guy who doesn't like manga and anime, so
from the Sailor Moon constant references and everything to the fighting monster of the week stuff, all the different things from various other anime. It's just so good. It's done in a way that lets you know that Mark and Tim are genuine fans of all these different things. The Super Sentai shows, the 80s and 90s manga, versus some of the other stuff we've seen recently that tries to do this, but does so in a very half-hearted way, or just very not good.
There's a new one called High Guardian Spice on Crunchyroll or something.
Yeah, and now that that's actually been allowed to see the light of day because we actually have a trailer for it. It actually doesn't look like the worst thing in the world. It just looks generic.
Well, the problem was that in the original promotional video, just emphasized on all female writing, all female production crew. Like, oh, really? Come on.
Yeah, and that kind of is a dead giveaway that your product probably ain't that good. If you have to sell stuff like, oh, well, our diversity in our writing staff and you can't just let your stuff stand on its own. That was what they led with, and then it took like 2 to 3 years before we saw any actual moving footage from this shit. Should tell you what we're getting into. Like, probably not that good.
Another element that I enjoyed about that was introduced in the first volume was the Lansky agency.
Nero Lansky is such a trash person, and I love him because of that. Because he just He's just so underhanded. He's so slimy. He's the most slimy agent of all time, and I think that actually makes for a perfect antagonist.
I love the commentary that does on modern female superheroes too. Like they're trying to get her to be something she's not. They're trying to get her to further the feminist narrative, and she doesn't want to be that way, right?
Yeah, like the fact that he actually says when he proposes giving her a sidekick, he said, "Okay, you can stick to your cornball shtick," and Major Babe will literally move the agenda along.
That
Carly's
line,
just
yes.
there, just about to crack up.
She's like the agenda, and she just loses it. Yeah.
Are you serious? She's about to explode. Again, it goes right back to the point we're making before about how this book is really right on time, and how you have so much of this book about people trying to get Carly to be something that she is not. They're trying to divert her from who she actually is. They're trying to get her to go in all these different directions. And that's why the words her father says to her in the beginning are so important. You know, there's going to be all these people that try to pull you in this direction, that direction, tell you who to be, but that's not the way to go. You got to know who you are. You got to stand up for what you stand up for, and that's a very powerful, really universal message that I feel like anyone could relate to.
Yeah. I absolutely love this book. The art is incredible. The action paneling is just really, really great. You know, I love how she names her moves. That is so great. I love that so much.
Another nod from the not Japanese likey guy.
Sickle and Stardust, Velvet Thunder, you know.
The Satin Static Smasher, like that's first of all, I almost want her to be a character in a game so I can play her, so that I can hear her say Satin Static Smasher every time I finish an opponent.
You know what? With the way this thing is going, I wouldn't be surprised if we at some point get a Kamen America video game. Just saying.
Next year, 2022 is the year of Kamen America video game. It's gonna happen. Because this time last year, she was just breaking out onto the scene, and now there's already been several animated gifs of her, full-blown intro, like anime style intro for her and the rest of the Kamen Corps. So I'm telling you, man, this time next year, Kamen America indie video game is coming, and I'm going to buy it on release.
Yeah, that's definitely happening. But Volume 1 is solid, and then I was like, at that point, I'm like, you have my money. Just what's the next volume? And then Volume 2 introduced a couple of characters, like, we were introduced to
Misha.
Yeah, we were introduced to her in Volume 1, but in Volume 2, at the end of Volume 1, you know, she her and Carly become buddies, and she's the first one to join the Kamen Corps. We are also introduced to Sylvia. Sylvia is your Sylvia is your typical anime girl rival.
Your haughty, hoity-toity rich girl who's just like, I'm better than you in every way. I'm clearly superior.
And she really gets under Carly's skin a lot.
Effortlessly, honestly. Like you can tell she's really not even trying when she takes these digs.
Thing is though, Sylvia has her moments. I mean, Sylvia can be kind of annoying, but she has her moments where I think she's genuinely trying to help Carly.
You know, that's a good point. And honestly, this is something that comes to a head in issue 3, where we see how both of them, their idea of doing good stuff often negatively affects others. You know, at their core, they're both genuinely good people.
Yeah. And I love how in Volume 2, I think Carly has a really, really strong character arc.
Oh, yeah. Number 2 was the one that pretty much just cemented me as a stan. Carly is me in so many different ways.
You know, it's really solid stuff. I love one of my favorite moments is when they're fighting the Snare Crow character. And then Kamen goes, to prove the justice of our culture, I will vanquish you. And then Kamen goes, I'm going to murder you. And then she goes like, whoa, could you take it down a notch?
Yes, that part right there, where they're doing their little intros. First of all, the fact that they have intros. Second of all, the fact that Misha just straight up, I'm gonna murder you. And she's just doing the sideways thumb to the skull.
Yeah.
And then third of all, the fact that they put a line from the Ghostbusters video game in here. And not only did they put it in here as like a gag, but it eventually becomes Common America's sort of calling statement. They took something that was a mistranslation from an 80s video game and became a meme and used it to be a genuine like rallying call for their main hero. Like if that does not showcase the brilliance in this writing, I don't know what does.
And then, you know, and then in this volume, we're introduced to Kamen Ramen. I think she's adorable. I know a lot of people didn't really like her that much. I don't know why, though.
Because they're terrible people with no souls.
Yeah. Maybe she's not as well developed as the other ones, but I think she has great potential.
Yeah, she definitely gives me vibes of the newcomer who we don't know a terrible amount about yet, but we're going to know her a little more deeply, and then she gets more time to shine on her own in issue 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then volume 2 though is just when she's just so endearing, and her whole Carly senpai shtick is just so good.
And Sylvia comes in as Kamen UN, and then that kind of like triggers Carly again all over again. Like, oh my god, I can't believe it, she's back, and she's still being the same insufferable girl from back in high school and stuff, you know?
Her rivalry with Sylvia perfectly displays one of her fatal flaws, and that her need for recognition, even from people that really she doesn't even know, and her need to be seen for her effort for things, you know, because we see that so much with her.
The media just completely destroys her at every chance, and that really bothers her, you know.
And then here comes Kamen UN, you know, just like with Sylvia in high school, she shows up here and then bam, just steals the thunder, just like she did for the prom.
Yeah. And one of my favorite moments is when she goes to the church and she speaks with the priest.
Yeah, Father Blatley.
And then after that comes one of the most emotional scenes in the comic.
Now you got to set this up properly though.
So, in volume 1, we're kind of introduced to, you know, the teacher I had mentioned before. Her name is Miss Wormy, right?
Miss Wormwood.
So Miss Wormwood, yeah, Miss Wormwood. Miss Wormwood was this character teacher who was like super uber feminist and telling Carly she needs to be these things instead of being, you know, what she wanted to do. And in volume 1, at one point, Carly is walking, and she has a coat on, and she's this homeless lady, and she kind of just gives her scarf because, you know, you need the scarf. And I love heroic moments, like tiny, small heroic moments like that. And it turns out in volume 2, spoiler by the way, that homeless lady was Miss Wormwood. So Carly gets a letter from Miss Wormwood, and it's just this whole thing about, you take over, because like
okay, so essentially like you were just setting up, we learn about Miss Wormwood, how she was in the past through discussions from Carly and her crew about how terrible Miss Wormwood was, and how she really tried to pressure Carly to be this certain way versus Vicky, who got praised because, you know, she wants to be a geologist, XYZ 123. But then she comes into contact with this homeless lady in issue 1, gives her the scarf, she loves it, and that actually is a point of contention between Carly and Nero, her publicist dude, because that's making her quote unquote look bad because she's given this high-end material that she made to this homeless lady, and all Nero cares about is appearances, you know. But Carly's, I don't give a damn about that, I just wanted to help the lady out, you know. Well, it turns out that was actually Miss Wormwood, and in issue 2 we see that Carly is just constantly on the move, running around trying to do stuff, and constantly concerned with, you know, not getting the recognition and not getting the praise from the masses that she feels like she deserves. And in her running around, we see from Vicky, that, you know, she ain't been opening mail for weeks. There's like rotten food in the house and stuff, and she just shoves it in her coat pocket, not thinking nothing about it. Well, while she's having this moment in the church where she's finally just sitting down, she's like, "Oh, I got all this mail in here." She goes through it, and one of the letters is from the coroner's office, and she opens it up, and it's about Miss Wormwood. Miss Wormwood, who was the homeless lady, unfortunately passed away due to hypothermia, you know, a good few weeks ago. or probably a few months ago at this point. And on her body, they found this letter from Miss Wormwood that she wrote for the sort of Kamen America fan club. And she talks about in the letter how in the past she was such a terrible, just angry person, felt like she had to be this way, you know, for the cause and for all these. It's a clear, I don't think they name drop any movements or feminism, but it's clearly she's that sort of far leftist who's just angry to be angry about everything. And she treats people terribly. She ended up burning all her bridges, and she really regrets doing that, because later in life, when she could have needed that help, she didn't have anyone to look out for her for real.
Yeah.
But then Carly showed up, and because Carly was still in her like Kamen America form with the blonde hair and everything, Miss Wormwood didn't know that was the same Carly who was her student. But she says, "You really remind me of this student I had, but I really didn't treat her very well." And she says, she ends the letter with saying she hopes to see her again and stuff. And then I got the feels.
Yeah,
it was big time. And the biggest kicker, because this whole time Carly is just breaking down reading it, and the kicker comes when you found out that they actually were writing her to say that, you know, Miss Wormwood had no next of kin. So, you know, if you want to bury her, you want to give her a funeral service, just contact us before this date, or else we're going to just have to, I think, cremate her. And the letter is from like a month ago or something. So obviously it's too late.
Yeah,
so
it was March 31st, and then the date where she reading the letter is July 24th. So
yeah, like, so she's long gone, man. And Carly, I can identify with that scene so much. Like, it genuinely made me tear up, because I've had moments like that.
That moment was just a huge arc for the character, and like, Carly is an amazing character.
I feel like it was really important, because one thing that I don't really like about the way a lot of comics do people today is they either have them be completely infallible and like Mary Sue, Gary Stu levels, or they write them to be completely unlikable assholes who just never do anything good almost. But they wrote Carly Vanders as a character who is very genuine and very likable, but also still very flawed. She's still learning a lot, and because she's still struggling with these things that have been going on in her mind and these sort of character flaws, she's not going to make the right decision all the time. It's going to affect people negatively, but because she's still a good person at heart, once she sees the error of her ways, she's immediately going to try and rectify that. So once she saw she had screwed up there, she also saw that she had all these missed calls and messages, because we also see in this issue that she's kind of neglecting people in her life that mean something to her, while she's chasing all this fame and recognition from randos on the street and in the news. But she gets this call saying that Misha and Kimiko are in this fight. They got their backs up against the wall. So Carly goes out and almost Superman style takes off the jacket. It's the Kamen America outfit underneath, and she flies into action and just totally
and she fights this really cool. They fight this really cool like turtle kaiju with like crystals on its shell, and she comes in and they have this really cool like combo moves. And this thing is really hard to take down. It's not your typical. It's not, you know, like the other monsters that they were fighting before. It's tougher to beat.
Yeah, and this thing has like forms. It's like one of those characters that you think you beat it, and then that's just like the halfway point of the boss battle.
Like, you know, and they do cool things like Kamen combo meteor storm, and it's just really cool. It's just the action is really well drawn. I love the colors. One of the things I love about is the way they do fire and explosions. I love the way the colors are on the fire and the explosion. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it's very unique. I definitely don't see this in Western comics. It's the attention to coloring in a way that makes it its own thing, but you can tell that they've been like, you know, influenced by different things, such as, you know, specific manga or anime, or even some older Western comics that lean more into sort of the fantastical type of coloring versus trying to make everything super realistic looking. But it's just so dynamic, and it just grabs you by the soul and the balls and the uterus and just says, "Here I am, pay attention to me." And I appreciate that.
I love the moment, like Kamen Ramen has this moment where it's in its final form, the turtle thing.
Mhm.
And she's just like such a cool skeleton. It's like, oh my god, really?
Yeah, man. And this was a great way to end issue 2. Because also during this fight, Kamen UN shows up. But instead of her getting jealous when Kamen UN gets all the press attention and everything, Carly's just happy that she was able to show up, help her friends, save the day. And she's content with that. And so we can see that she's learned her lesson and she's growing as a character. And that's what makes this such a strong arc.
Yeah. And then we get to volume 3. So it starts out with another flashback of when they were all in high school with Sylvia.
And I love how each book opens up with that, like a shot from their childhood.
Yeah, from their earlier life. Yeah. It turns out that Sylvia gave Carly a book of fashion designs, right? In a genuine gesture, right? Sylvia wasn't trying to be mean about this or anything. She was like, oh, here's this book, that can help you out. And Carly, doesn't see that. She just gets mad, like, oh, what is she trying to say,
It sort of sets up the next evolution of their relationship. How we're seeing the parallels between them, and kind of like we brought up earlier, we're seeing how even when they're doing good things, the other one perceives it as bad or tries to undermine it in some way, and it's showing that they really don't have a good reason to hate each other.
Yeah, we also find out how she first met
friggin' Nero, Lansky with his linking behind.
Yeah.
Dumbass fro he's such a douche canoe. Like, oh my goodness. When he's talking about one sex, some bumpkins want to invite me to a square dance or something. Like, dude, go away.
Yeah. Oh god, so annoying. So annoying. We haven't mentioned Vermilion Masquerade yet, have
we need to talk about a girl, Vermilion Masquerade. She's the actual antagonistic force villainy type thing where she's on the ground creating all these monsters that they keep fighting. We don't know who she is yet, although
there are clues if you
there are clues.
There are clues as to who she is, and I actually predicted who she was before the reveal.
Yeah, I think during this issue I maybe had a couple suspicions, but I didn't give it any real thought until I started reading this, and I started to see some ways that a certain character was acting. This is your last spoiler warning if you are not caught up with Common America.
We'll wait to the end to reveal.
Yeah, but I just want people to know that's coming. So if you don't want to find out.
Yeah, I love the stab beetles, by the way. The design of the stab beetles are so cool.
That actually reminds me of Beetleborgs.
Yeah, it does. I used to watch that show. One of my favorite moments when they show up, Carly goes, "Ew, bugs!" And then again, Kamen Ramen says, "Ooh, pretty skulls." Apparently, she has a thing for skulls and skeletons. So
yeah, well, I mean, she's a radiologist, I think. So, or she was studying to be a radiologist.
Yeah.
She likes skeletons.
Yeah, but they're fighting them, and then they have some funny. I mean. At some point, we got to talk about the humor. I laughed out loud several times throughout 3 volumes.
Yeah, man. There's really no limit to the humor here, and it's really several different kinds of humor. You can have a slapstick, sort of more slapstick geared character. You can have someone like Misha, who has more like deadpan, sarcastic humor. You can have Kamen Ramen, who Kimiko, she's just kind of like, are you even from this planet sometimes?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's got some great humor. But anyway, so yeah, Kamen UN shows up. The thing is, though, it's funny because before this, the audience, they thought this was part of the show, but they were like bored or whatever, who cares? And then as soon as Kamen UN shows up, oh wow, Kamen UN is here. So, and then of course,
it's so manufactured, but it's so real to life. Honestly, you could have something that's cool, and a lot of people will, because they're not encouraged to like it. That's we just got it was whatever, but then the thing comes up that they're supposed to like, and now it's all hands on deck. And I love how, I think it was in the second issue, I want to say, you even had the guy who had the shirt on that just said consume. Like, that cracked me the hell up.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Oh, I love the moment in the gun shop with
with Siggy.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, man, and he's a character we really haven't touched on yet, and I really like him. He's one of those sort of supporting cast members who you may not think of too much, but when he's on stage, when he's on panel, he always has something to offer, whether it's some biting commentary on what's going on, or even if he's just like that sort of, because he and Carly, they have that sort of, will they won't they thing. But in this episode, I'm just crossing all the streams today, y'all.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
In this volume, he actually gets to do something proper, because when they're in the store, they can't, like, he's in the store with Misha, and Misha can't use her powers in the store. She tries to, but that sets off the
sprinklers,
the sprinklers on the ceiling, and so she's useless. So then Siggy just pulls out the friggin'
shotgun,
the Mossberg pump, and just gets the bang bang.
Yeah, that was
so
pretty awesome. That was good. They get attacked by the stab beetles and Soda's Kamen Ramen, who's having lunch with her father.
Yes, and now we get that moment of where Kamen Ramen starts to shine more on her own. And honestly, I love her relationship with her father. Like, I don't think we touched on that, but
yeah,
the fact that before she had become a member of the Kamen Corps, she was using the powers that she got also from her own little meteor strike, where she almost died from, and that was a point of that she and Carly have in common.
Yeah.
But she was voluntarily being the mascot for her family's ramen noodle company, or their business, and she was doing great with it. But her father knew that that's not what she wanted to do, so he encouraged her to pursue her dreams. That's such a good message, man. Like genuinely, like, not pressuring your kids. And that's sort of a theme throughout this whole book, because even back when Misha and Carly started talking, she was saying about how she made the costume that she was wearing, and she didn't want to. I think she didn't want to tell her comrades because they would laugh at her or something. Laugh at about that. I mean, that's what I do. But it's just so great seeing how all these characters, there's something that they want to do, some passion that they have, and there's some force in their life that's always pushing them in another direction.
The thing I love about Kamen America is that there's a theme of supporting fathers. Not only her father, but also Carly's father is also the same way. Very supportive and a very solid father figure in her life. Very
much of a loving fathers, and the fact that all the main characters are women and their fathers are not only in their lives but like genuinely good forces of encouragement and upliftment.
This is a way to have strong female characters that are feminine without having to belittle or put down the male characters. So I love how they're able to do that and stuff. And then so they're each getting attacked by the stab beetles, and then Carly is on a talk show when she gets attacked. And then, of course, Sylvia shows up again.
Of course. I love how everything is just sort of building to this showdown on the talk show. And Vermilion, I love how she's just back there just enjoying
it all of it.
I love the type of villain archetype that she is, where she's not always the most physical, but she's clearly enjoying what's going on. And one thing I also want to point out here is even though Vermilion is clearly the main antagonist, she's still not really like full-blown evil. Like, she does have her limits. Like, she's had some encounters with some other figures and some other villains from other books.
From Black Ops.
Yeah, from Black Ops. And she straight up say, like, you want me to do this job for you? I ain't making nothing that's gonna get out here and start killing stuff. Yeah. So, but a little more on that maybe later. And then at a later date when we do the Black
Ops stuff. Yeah, we'll probably do the Black Ops Omnibus, which I still have to read, and then we'll do the Kamen America Black Ops crossover. But I love moments like Sylvia goes, "You call out your attack names? What are you, 12?"
Yeah, it's a very self-aware moment. It's very self-aware, and that's one of the things I love about this book so much, is that it knows what it's doing. Mark and Tim, they know what to poke fun at. They know when to rein it back and sort of be more sincere, more genuine with it. But they know what they're doing. They know some of this stuff is silly, and they have no problem poking fun at it. But this is actually when we get to the point where they realize how dumb both of them are acting. Because they're both talking about they're both trying to one up each other and talk about how you're this, or you did this bad to me, you did this thing, and then they both just go, "You're not better than me."
And then they both realize, like, Carly goes, "I can't even remember why I was mad at you in the first place."
Yeah, it's definitely one of those moments where it's like, really, we're just locked into this pointless fight forever. And then Vermilion is just like, "Oh, okay, well, we're doing this now. Okay, well, bye bye, suit."
Yeah,
Because it turns out that
the suit
since
was.
we did know that Kamen UN was working with them, but we didn't know that the suit was made of the same like clay creation of the monsters. So that means Vermilion has control over it. So once she decides, okay, you're done, she just snaps her fingers and the suit just dissolves.
And then at this point, Carly and Sylvia begin to build those bridges again. And, you know, it's a little awkward at first, but...
Understandably so.
Yeah. And then at this point, I think they're going to the airport. And then Vicky throws some shade. She's like, she gets a little uppity.
We definitely see how Vicky is definitely feeling like not even the third or fourth wheel at this point. She's like the spare tire. If you go back and you read the issues, you can sort of see how she's losing patience with each additional issue, each additional scene. This stuff, whether it's the mistreatment or the neglect from Carly or just the constant sidelining for everything, she's just starting to get done. And even earlier in this issue, where Carly tries to bring her up when she's talking to the doctor from Area 51, Vicky's just walks off in a huff, just storms off. And this scene right here, I feel like if there's any doubt in your mind of who Vermilion Masquerade is, but you've had ideas, I feel like this scene confirms all that. And even Sylvia, after she leaves, she's like, "Oh, you know, I never thought I was that mean to Vicky, or I wasn't nice either. I just wrote her off as Carly's friend." And it's like, yes, that's the point. She's tired of just being Carly's friend or the science girl or the whatever. It's never about her. And I feel like it makes perfect sense when you connect the dots. But we're not at the actual reveal yet.
Yeah, they go back to Nevada because I think they have to do some shows there, and they go back to Area 51. And, you know, where we have, what's his name? The doctor guy.
I'm about to just call him as the doctor till I find it.
Yeah, but anyway, he's back with his awesome, dry, sarcastic sense of humor, which I love. He's just funny. He just makes me laugh.
He is. Another brilliant use of several different kinds of humor. The fact that I don't even remember when this man cracked a smile, and yet he made me crack a smile. And yeah, of course, we have to test Sylvia for being exposed to the Chimeratons. And now, yeah, it turns out she also has the powers.
Yeah. So, and then they're doing all this in Area 51, and they get attacked by Vermilion Masquerade with a giant Titan crab beetle.
Because it's time.
It's time for the climax of Volume 3. So they have to go out there and fight this thing, and it's all over the news. There's been this theme in Volume 3 where Kamen Ramen wants to do a combo attack with Kamen, but she's like, "No, it's not gonna work. You're watering on fire. It's not gonna work." But there's a great moment in Volume 3 where they actually pull it off, and they do like this freezer burn move. That's a great moment.
In a pinch, when they needed to work, it's time to work. But all this great stuff can't last for so long because, a running theme and kind of gag in these books is that Carly keeps running out of her powers, because that's something we haven't mentioned. They can only stay super powered for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then they've been making all these rounds on talk shows and stuff, and Carly's been super powered the whole time. So she don't have enough power to maintain her Common America form during the
easy solution is for them to get wigs.
For them to get wigs, yeah. Hopefully they'll start using that in Volume 4.
Yeah.
And then that leads directly into the I sort of like the big payoff moment with Sylvia, because don't forget, y'all, she's also there. And there's this, when they went to Area 51, there was this project that Sylvia has. It was a suit that was intended for Carly It's like a souped up, powered, like a Kamen America suit. And so after Carly depowers, Sylvia asks for Carly's mask. And so she puts that on, and in the new gear goes out as Kamen America. And so when she's beating off all the monsters and stuff, everyone thinks that's Carly. And then she comes back in after doing that and gives the mask back to Carly, and that leads to this really heartwarming scene. You can hear everyone chanting Kamen America's name, and Sylvia really tells Carly, and this is definitely also a shot at like current comics that feel like every hero is just a mask or mantle that can be passed to whoever. She says, this belongs to Sylvia talking to Carly. She says, this belongs to you. You said that we shouldn't be tearing each other down based on our past. I agree. We should be building our future. Kamen America isn't a costume that anyone can put on and claim as a mantle. It isn't a legacy. It's you. You are who everyone is cheering for right now. Every good deed you've done has brought you to this point. Kamen America is Carly Vanders, and only you will ever be Kamen America.
Oh, that really brought home Volume 3 for me, that scene.
Yeah, that was it. That was definitely the money shot, because if that ain't a phrase that people need to hear right damn now. And I'm not just talking about your girl Carly.
No. And then the reveal. The reveal is that Vermilion Masquerade is Vicky all along.
Because of course she breaks in there with her clay fists, and they ain't got no powers left. They're all depowered, and but they can power up using their respective elements.
Like the great moment, the beer moment. You want to talk about the beer moment? I love the beer moment.
The beer moment, because no one has any fire electricity around, but there is this, these little crates of beer and shit over here, and Kimiko, since that's technically liquid and has water in it, she just goes to town on these freaking beer joints and is chugging them like a college girl at a club.
And then that comment goes, "Ooh boy, I hope this ends better than my 18th birthday." That line made me crack up.
Yeah, man, this shit is so good. But that gives a Kamen Ramen enough water power to spritz a Vermilion one good time, and then right on the page turn that concludes the volume, we see that all of her shit is melting away, and it's actually Vicky under there.
Yep.
Good old Carly's friend Vicky has been the mastermind behind all this madness.
Of it. I honestly see a redemption arc for Vicky. That the way the character is written.
Hopefully, she won't be like completely decommissioned. I would hope that at some point she probably not being like a full-blown team member. I mean, maybe, but I'm kind of seeing her kind of taking a similar route as Loki did in the MCU, where he starts off villainous after we see that he's the mastermind, and then slowly over time he sort of settles into a sort of begrudging occasional ally. Yeah, where and then
maybe
we can see
maybe like Vegeta or something.
Well, maybe, but then at this point, Vegeta is full-blown good guy, so I wouldn't even go that far yet, at least not now. Like, the way Carly, unless there's like a super ultra focus on her relationship with Carly that resolves the shit at the end of the next issue, which is actually going to bookend this entire saga, I don't see that happening just yet. I think they still kind of have to go through some things. And they even go through some things in, whatchamadoodle. The next thing that we're talking about, what is it called?
The crossover.
And Black Ops.
Yeah. By the way, at the end of each volume, they have a little. They have the setup for the crossover, right?
Yes.
Setting up the crossover that it eventually became the Black Ops Kamen Rider crossover. And I'm not saying I'm not interested in Black Ops. I am. I did get the omnibus, but I haven't read it yet.
It pretty much has something for both audiences, and it's genuinely good in its own right. It's still definitely good to know the stories of both before picking that up, and I wouldn't say that's a bad thing, but one thing I like about both of these stories, both Kamen America and Black Ops, you can potentially jump in at any point and not be that lost. Each one has enough of its own merit to stand on its own, but in my opinion, it is better to read them as they come, at least, because even though each one is its own adventure, it's all part of a greater saga, a greater arc. And you know, especially when you're going into a crossover book, which comes after each other one from the individual series has 3 individual issues, kind of not a good look if you're going totally blind on one of the series.
Yeah, this is the way to build a universe. This is the way to build a larger world. I mean, Tim and Mark are on point. They are rock stars. They are the example for me for creating Paragon Prime. You know?
Yeah, this is definitely the way to go. I think there are a lot of people who have something to offer, something to sort of learn from in the indie scene. And I think what Mark and Tim, they have a significant amount to offer, both as individuals and as a creative team. And since the stories of Common American Black Hops appeal to me a bit more than some of the other indie titles, I get like a front row seat of, okay, a lot of this is stuff that I was thinking of maybe using in my stories, or if I wanted to do this is a good example.
Well,
or even just looking at them and the way they operate online with fans, the way they do their Kickstarter campaigns, their pre-orders, anything you could learn about this industry from a creator standpoint, I feel like they are a perfect example of in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, and Carly even influenced one of your characters, Kat, from the Spider Circle. We were talking about this the other day.
Because not to give too much away, but reading a lot of Carly sort of gave me a good idea of sort of subconsciously how to do a very likable, personal character, especially a female character, heroine, because honestly, prior to writing Catherine from the Spider Circle, Catherine Scarlet, I really haven't written a character like this before. So without even really trying, I sort of picked up a lot from how to write characters like this from reading Common America, and a lot of that just flavors my understanding of this type of character. So there are some. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make Kat just like Carly. But
no, I know that. I didn't mean to imply that.
No. I was just throwing that out there just for the listeners. But like, it's because I like the character so much, and she's in my mind so much. The way she does things, that influences the way I write some of my characters, and I definitely pulled a lot from that. A lot of her earnestness to wanting to help people over just having a bunch of glitz and glamour and fame, or just beating people up.
And that's the thing. I mean, back originally when you were telling me about your 2 projects, I was obviously more into Bond of the Blade, but as I've learned more, as I've seen the artwork, and we've had discussions about the characters, as that's happened, I'm like, you know what? This sounds like a really great idea. I'm really looking forward to it, especially what you're doing with Kat. I think this is going to be just as good as Bond of the Blade. So, you know,
I'm glad I convinced you, man. That's what I understand, that every story on its surface won't appeal to everybody, but I'm sort of hoping that as people get to know my characters more, even things that they may have think, okay, this might be cool, but I'm probably gonna pass on it, maybe I can convince them to at least check out, the first issue or something. Give it a shot.
I did want to mention a few things. All the videos that you've seen recently on my YouTube channel have all been edited by Animaine here, and he is amazing. He is a rock star. If you want top-notch editing on any of your YouTube videos, please hit him up.
You can hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter will be linked in the description. All the work on my YouTube channel, I edit all that myself. I've done a significant amount of work for HEROGEEK here for the past few months. This is my art. Definitely hit me up, and we will create some greatness together.
Yeah, and he did my my Paragon Prime promotional video, which, by the way, I hit my goal on my GoFundMe. So I learned that right before this show. So that is just amazing. It made my year, really. It really did. And that is partly due thanks to the video that me and Animaine did together for the promotional video. That had a huge impact on getting me to my goal. So, and he did that for me. He edited that video, and he did an incredible job. So, yeah, if you have an Indiegogo campaign for a comic book and you want a solid promotional video, yeah, go to him.
Yeah, man.
Really.
I will do you right and then some. That's my Denzel Washington guaranteed your ass right now.
Yeah,
most definitely.
So, by the way, I do have a Patreon now, so that's going to be in the description too. Please consider.
Slide through. He dropping some good shit over there.
I'm dropping some stuff. Yeah, if you want exclusive art, I'm even going to have music and different promotional videos and all kinds of neat stuff. Please go to my Patreon. Is there anything else we should mention?
I think we've hit everything, man.
Yeah.
Buy the book, because if you can get it now, and just love this book, man. We've spent enough time lamenting about how terrible stuff is, and you know what? I get it. Sometimes something really head ass or just really grossly offensive comes out, and you just got to speak on it. I do that plenty of times on my channel, but just make sure you're also reading stuff you like, watching stuff you like, made by people who actually respect you as a consumer and as a fan, people who want to tell their own genuine stories but also entertain you. Do that, man. And there's really no one out here doing it better than Mark and Tim.
They are
they blazing the trails, man. They blazing the trails out here.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. I want to get them on HEROGEEK Presents eventually. I know you got them on Unsigned Hype on your channel, so
yeah, man. It'll happen.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. All right, well, that'll be it for today. This was a really long comic book review. Usually my reviews are like barely 3 minutes long.
Yeah, this practically counts as its own HEROGEEK Presents interview.
Yeah,
like,
I think so. Yeah. But thank you all for joining and listening or watching or whatever. And yeah, there's going to be more videos coming up soon. That'll be it. Join me next time when I will review and or interview a comic book that is all about heroism. And Kamen America is totally heroism.
All about heroism.
Yeah. All right. Later, guys.
Deuces.